So welcome everyone to A Course in Miracles. This is an ongoing study that we're doing on Monday afternoons, on the second Monday of the month, the fourth Monday of the month, and also on Wednesday evenings at 8 o'clock. So you have three options during the month to join the discussion on A Course in Miracles. And we're looking forward to having Dan share with us for the first time. Dan's been teaching A Course in Miracles and studying A Course in Miracles for many, many years. So he has lots to share about the Course. My name is Mary Jean Belrose, and I just want to let you know that this is being presented by Awakening Spirituality, which is an emerging congregation of Christian faith background, but is a group of seekers who are providing a space for spiritual discussions on all topics of spirituality. And our plan is to provide a safe space where people can come and explore topics like A Course in Miracles and many other topics as well, where they can learn about these things and ask questions. So there are no dumb questions. We're happy to have questions asked about any of our topics. And I'll let you know about some of our other activities coming up at the end of our session today. So I just want to keep this intro brief, but just a couple housekeeping things. It is always a best practice if you can keep your microphone on mute, just so that we avoid some background noises that may interrupt the speaker. If you have a question or a comment, though, please don't hesitate to jump in and ask or share your thoughts with us. You can always type your thoughts or your questions in the chat as well, and I will relay those to Dan if you'd rather do it that way. It's wonderful to see everyone's faces, but if you'd rather keep your video off, we have no judgments about that. You're welcome to do that as well. So I'm going to, I think, leave it at that, and I'm just going to turn it over to Dan and let you. Oh, I guess I should let you know that we are recording this. We will post this on our YouTube channel, and I'll put that address in the chat for you so that you can review this afterwards or go back and see other recordings that we have from other sessions. It doesn't mean that your video is being recorded. It's just the person who is actually spotlighted. So it will be Dan today. So Dan, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mary Jean, and welcome to everyone. Mary Jean said, don't be shy. There are no dumb questions. However, you may get a dumb answer. So we'll see how that goes. My name is Dan McCurdy. I am a licensed minister in the Community of Christ Christian Church. I am an ex-car dealer, and I'm feeling a little bit nervous, very nervous, in fact, and I'm really surprised about that. But because I did my own television and radio commercials, wrote them and did them for 40 odd years in Ottawa. And so I shouldn't be nervous, but I think it's because I'm dealing with a much higher power than I am. And when that happens, sometimes I get a little bit anxious. So if I appear to be anxious, please forgive me. I want to talk to you today about the Lord Jesus Christ, who is, in my opinion, absolutely the author of A Course in Miracles. He's alive. He's available. He will speak to you perhaps more clearly than I can or ever will. If in fact you are a student, you are already aware of this, or most students are. If not, I'd like to talk about some of the things and directions that he gave and has given. And I would like to read some of the introduction to the course to you. And we can talk about it if there's things to talk about. But in the meantime, I just want to talk about Jesus himself for a minute and some of the things that he talked about. And I hope I don't get alarm you too much, I want to talk about the Ten Commandments briefly. I call them the Ten Commandments of Moses or man, because for me, the Ten Commandments are an impossibility to keep. I have never met anyone who ever claimed to have kept them. So then it has to fit logically into mind. And so if in fact they are of Moses, then it makes sense that God would not ask his favorite son, you and I, to do something that he knew full well would be an impossibility for us to do. It just doesn't fit his nature. That's not the God that I know. In my studies of the New Testament, I have found 4 commandments that I think are legitimate. They're given us by Jesus, and I'd like to touch on them. The first one, of course, everyone is familiar with: love the Lord your God with all your might, mind, and strength. The second one: treat your neighbor as yourself, or as you would treat God. The third, this is Jesus speaking: seek ye first the kingdom and all its righteousness, and everything shall be given you. And the fourth one is from Matthew chapter 5, verse 48. Again, Jesus speaking. And it sounds directly like a commandment to me. This one troubled me for more than 2 years. I prayed about it before I got the answer. But it's pretty simple. It says, be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. So those are the 4 commandments that I try to observe in my life. And I suggest that they may be the only ones that are really necessary. But that's everyone's choice, and I hope no one takes offense because that I just don't trust the 10 commandments. They're too tough for me. I want you to think a little bit about the last one, be ye perfect, because that's who Jesus claims we are already in A Course in Miracles. As I study the course, it comes up over and over again in all the lessons. It's just common for him to treat us as he himself is. He treats us as though we are equal, that we are not separate from him, nor are we or can we, according to the course, be separate from our Creator, God. Equality is really important in my studies and in my beliefs and in my walk. Jesus directs us in the 3rd commandment that I talk about: seek ye first the kingdom and all of its righteousness. I don't know what that means to you, but to me it means that should be the first on my list. Like, that's what I should do. If he said it's important, do nothing but this, seek ye first the kingdom, then I began to do that, or to do it to the best of my ability. And it brought me into the reality of a kingdom that does exist here and now on the face of the earth, functioning perfectly right here on earth as it is in heaven. And of course, fits directly into the Lord's Prayer. So as we begin to think about the commandments and about who we are and where we are, we must brush up against the possibility that Jesus knew what he was talking about. And just maybe this kingdom that quite frankly, I don't see much evidence of in the world. It's pretty hard to find, but it is. And as we think towards the growth or the growing of this kingdom, and think about what our responsibility to that kingdom might be, it becomes necessary in my mind to find an avenue such as A Course in Miracles to launch this kind of thinking. And when I found the course, I knew nothing about it. I was given a gift by a young man that I had helped to get into a drug program. And 3 months later, when he came out, he wanted to buy me a gift. He bought me a gift. It was a book by a Dr. Gerald Jampolsky, and it was about A Course in Miracles and about his testimonial of how he became a God-fearing, God-following Christian brother. I don't like the word fear, so forgive me for using it there. And the title of the book was Teach Only Love. And throughout the book, that's what we're asked to do, is teach only love. So if we then are to teach only love, we need to find out the source of that love, or what love really is. Love, according to the Course as I understand it, says that we actually cannot explain love, that it's beyond what we can bring ourselves to understand. And much of the Course appears to be that way. Sometimes it's difficult to wrap our minds around what it is that Jesus is trying to tell us, or trying to implant in our minds. So other scriptures that we talk about, or that I talk about, are in the Bible, and I may be referring to them, throughout my little time here, off and on. But we're taught and told of our equality. Jesus says that we are adapted into the family by our Father. He talks in the Course as though we are absolutely and totally equals. And if it is the truth, then it's important for people who choose to follow God or seek God in their lives, or to seek the kingdom, to understand this equality, or to begin to accept the possibility that it could be that we are equal to Jesus. Because if we are, then we probably got a lot to do in our lives. Not that we can do it with perfection, but we can do it with perfection with the help of the really one and only teacher that ever is or ever was, and that is the Holy Spirit, the great communicator. I'm going to read, if I may, and if there's anything you people want to do, please interrupt, and we can talk about any of it. What it is, as its title implies, the Course is arranged throughout as a teaching device. It consists of 3 books: a 669-page text, a 488-page workbook for students, and a 92-page manual for the teachers. In order to which students choose to use the books, the order in which the students choose to use the books and the ways in which they study them depend on their particular needs and preferences. And for me, when I got the book, I tried to read it, and I had trouble understanding it until I stumbled into the last book, which was the teacher's manual. And when I started to read the manual, it was just like I was in a different world. I recognized the truth of everything, and I wasn't new to Christ. I had had a personal revelatory experience on July 25th, 1977, and I knew a lot of truths that seldom get talked about, or that ministers are fearful to talk about. I knew that there no longer was death, that death was not real. I knew that absolutely everyone who had ever drawn a breath on the face of the earth would find the salvation and meet God and be a part of God. It was just what I knew. It wasn't that anybody had taught me other than through the power and gifts of the Holy Spirit. But these things I knew. And when I found a book that just oozed with the truths of the kingdom, I became alive in it, or it became alive in me. And so that's where I think I am. I think I'm still alive in it. Um, I'm going to go on from there. The curriculum the course proposes is carefully conceived and is explained step by step at both the theoretical and practical levels. It emphasizes application rather than theory and experience rather than theology. These are really, really important and valuable statements. It specifically states that a universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible, but absolutely necessary. That is talking about revelation. And revelation is not, in my opinion, just for a select few people. You know, if you think about the Pope or the president of our church or the leaders of other churches, quite often they get beautiful revelations and meaningful revelations. But revelation is a gift to the masses. It belongs to us. It's our right. And when Jesus asked his disciples, who do men say that I am? You know, they answered as best they could and gave two or three various answers. And then Peter said, you know, you are the Son of God, the Christ. Jesus answered him and said something like to the effect that, you know, Peter, you have spoken the truth. This was not given to you by man. In other words, it's the things that I knew just were true that he all of a sudden knew were true, and that it was given to him by revelation. And then he went on to say, and your name is no longer such and such, but you're now known as Peter the Rock. And the Bible says clearly that upon this truth, I will build my church. And I believe that that truth is the truth of revelation available to the masses. We don't understand clearly that it's for everyone. So these revelations are brought to us as required. It's not something we go out and really look for, more than we go out and look for a miracle, which are going on constantly. And I guess I've got off track a little bit here. I'm going to skip a page or two here. Christ's vision is the Holy Spirit's gift, which is revelatory. God's alternative to the illusion of separation and to the belief in the reality of sin, guilt, and death. It is the one correction of all errors of perception, the reconciliation of the seeming opposites on which this world is based. Its kindly light shows all things from another point of view, reflecting the thought system that arises from knowledge and making return to God not only possible, but absolutely inevitable. What was regarded as injustices done to one by someone else now becomes a call for help and for union. Sin, sickness, and attack are seen as misperceptions, calling for remedy through gentleness and, of course, love. All defenses are laid down because there is no attack. There is no need for defenses. Our brothers' needs become our own because they're taking the journey with us as we go to God. Without us, they would lose their way, and without them, we could never find our own. So that's a reference again to equality. You know, everyone's a teacher. Every teacher is a student. Every student is a teacher. And that's why I encourage questions or thoughts that you may have as we go on talking about A Course in Miracles and about the love of our Father. What the Course actually says in all those 11 or 12 or 1,300 pages, that nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists, and herein lies the peace of God. That tells the whole story. it takes, 1,200 pages or so to explain it, but that is the entire story. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And that brings us to the conclusion as we enter into the book and into the studies of the book, that that's all there is. That there is nothing else. There is just truth. Truth is love. Love is God. That's all there is.
Dan, I think
Yes.
this idea of nothing unreal exists, and it is a tough one to swallow if you're new to this course.
Yes.
It's I look around me and I go, well, that tree outside my window is real. This computer screen in front of me is real. Everything I see is real. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about that, this idea of what's real and what's not real.
Sure. To the best of my ability, and again, it may be limited, but I'll do what I can. The tree outside my window is probably similar to the tree outside your window. I have 2 or 3 beautiful oak trees, and I like to refer to them every once in a while. I look at them and realize what they really are. They are something that the Course says that I made. They are effectively an illusion. But they are very real in this sense, that they are created by the same source that created me. Even though I've been given the power to do with that power whatever I choose to do with, whether I make something that will last or something that won't. The oak tree's answer, I think, to all of this is, look, I'm here. I'm 100 or so years old. You can do what you want with me, but you cannot kill me. And I think science has actually proven that we can take a limb off the tree, we can cut it up or break it up in whatever form we like. We can make it into lumber. We can build houses. We can do anything that we want to do, anything we want to make out of that tree. We have the power to make. And the tree is totally committed to our needs, our wishes, our will. The source of the tree is the same as our source. In other words, it is just love. God gave us this love. We can do with the love, we can either use it or reject it, or do that. That's up to us. And that's what the book teaches. That's what it's all about. But we chose to make a tree with life that would never appear to totally die. It closes up for the winter. The leaves pop out again in the spring, and there it is. And it looks like it's forever. The part of it that is forever is the same part of us that is forever. When we came here to this earth, we came with all of the truth that there ever was and ever will be. We came with a soul that was quickly forgotten and hardly ever talked about. Certainly without a lot of needed conviction. But this soul that we were created with and came as a little 16-ounce or 5-ounce or 9-ounce child is the perfection of God. That's who we are. That's who that tree is. That's what the rocks are. That's what everything is. And these are my own opinions. I don't know that the Course goes into this kind of detail, but this is what I believe. That this love, that's all that I think there is ours. It's God's gift to us. It's the God within us. Jesus said, that the kingdom of heaven is within us. Each of us is familiar. Most of us will be familiar with this. I guess there could be people here who are not Christian. That's fine. They certainly don't have to be. It works anyway. It doesn't matter what a religious background is or isn't. The Course is valid. So if this Jesus fellow that we claim to be equal to, or I claim to be equal to, and try to express to you that you are equal to him, told us that this kingdom that he asked us to pray for, and told us it was in existence at that time, because he sent 12 men out into the world to declare to the world the truth of the kingdom of God by saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Well, if it's at hand, where is it? Is it available? Is it not available? If it's within us, it's certainly available. If God lives in the kingdom of heaven, and the kingdom of heaven is within us, and Jesus lives in the kingdom of heaven with his Father, and the kingdom is within us, who do we have within us? We have the power. We are effectively the Christ, or we can grow into the being of the Christ according to our desires and according to our will. The journey that we're on here on earth appears to take us away from that, away from those truths. The good news is that it cannot. No, we're born, we grow up as children, we have good parents, or sometimes not so good parents, but generally pretty good parents. They raise us to the best of their ability, educate us to the best of their, or whatever's available for us. And nobody, though, talks about this part of us that's eternal. Nobody has mentioned that we are a living Son of God. Nobody says that we are just love and will always be just love, that we don't have the power to change that. Thank goodness. But we thought we had the power to change it, and that's how we got here. I guess I'm really going on at a great rate here because I don't know why, but it seems that as we grow into the course, it becomes more and more clear that this is all Jesus is trying to tell us, just who we are, what we're here for, where we are going and where we are not going. We are all going to be in his presence in the kingdom of heaven at some point in time. We believe that we are separate, and that's what affirms the other seeming truth of the oak tree or the rocks or the other side, the money, the power that we think we can wield with success in the world. These things, Jesus says, are totally valueless, and that the only thing that's worthwhile is that which we came with, our soul. And when that soul is begun to be recognized, it will lead us into the kingdom of heaven here on earth as is in heaven, functioning perfectly. We learn through forgiveness. Forgiveness is the most powerful weapon on the face of the earth for peace. And in fact, it may be the only real weapon for truth and for peace here on the face of the earth in the unreal world. In the real world, it's not required because perfection is. And we are all perfect. Thank God we cannot do anything about that. We will always be perfect. And that's how Jesus treats us throughout the course. He never gets pushy or demanding, never giving us a whole ton of ways that we have to do things to get it done. He does paint a picture of a way forward that when we start it and get into it, most people get excited about it. Some people were like me and maybe don't get it. Some may put the book down and never read it again. And that doesn't really matter. It won't matter because every path leads to this heaven that exists, I believe, today here on earth. I have had and do continue to have wonderful experiences in this kingdom. I go to sleep at night and I'm in the kingdom until I wake in the morning. And then as I start my day, I may wander out and want to sit under the oak tree and dream about beautiful things in the world, and that's okay. It doesn't make any difference because the future is secure. And that's the joy and the happiness and the belief that I have in the course itself. Surely
Dan,
there must be more blessed. Yep.
We have a question
Yep.
about this concept of the kingdom.
Yes.
So, is the kingdom on earth a virtual place of love, i.e., love thy neighbor? Is the kingdom on earth a virtual place of love?
Yes, I am not certain what virtual actually means, but for me, it is a real place. I access it though by seeing only love. I don't think there's any other access to it other than through forgiveness, because forgiveness will lead us past the separation where we think that we're separate from God and believe that we're separate from God. This is not so and can never be. We can never be separate from God. The Course teaches about the mistaken thought that we could leave God, and that's how we got here. So we came here to learn, to understand, and to return to the safety of the kingdom of heaven. So I don't know whether that explains virtual or not. But for me, it is very real. It's just a place that I love to be, because the joy of being there and seeing everything as they actually are, which is a loving being. I'm not inclined then to trip over the little errors that people seem to make. They may say things that are intended to hurt my feelings, or they maybe say things that are intended to insult me, or anything they may say, which has nothing to do with me. Nothing. Because I live in the beauty of this kingdom. And in fact, I know who they are. They are that soul, that same creation that I actually was created as. This is what Jesus was talking about when he talked about, being born again to Nicodemus. And Nicodemus kind of made a joke about it. A lot of people do about religion or about beliefs in God or the kingdom. He said, "Hey, what? Come on, what do you think? I'm going to crawl back into the womb?" And Jesus said, "Well, you can think of it any way you want, but the truth is that you are going to have to be born again." And tried to explain it to him. And I think Nicodemus got it, at least largely, because he was very evident in and on through the life that Jesus had remaining. They became really close, I think, and that's beautiful. I guess that's the thing that we fail to realize, or I do, or did most of the time, was how close I am to the kingdom of heaven, or to the presence of God, or the feeling that God is actually alive within me, and is leading me on to talk about and to do the things that I'm determined to do, so long as unless somebody can prove to me that my thinking is upside down. I don't think they can. I've lived in that upside down world for 88 years now, and I don't like it. So I'm not going back. I am where I am, and I am what I am. And I just want to be what God made me of and through, and that's love. Because he gave me a portion of himself. And so I remain safe always in the mind of God. He sees me always as perfect. And he's called me then to see all that I meet or see or come in contact with, all of the other 8 billion particles of this broken oneness that the world sends to us every day. He's called me to see and understand that it's just love, that if I follow every action back, I mean, I was fortunate at one time to have been invited, I think, to the very first seminar, and it might have been the only one ever, of hardcore criminals that was held out of prison, was held in a monastery in Aylmer, Quebec. And what I discovered here was most of these men in their mind were innocent. And they said, yeah, okay, I did do the deed, but I did it because of, and it was always a reference to the love of something, the love of money, if it was a robbery, or the love of, I guess, sex, if it was a crime related to sex. But these people were murderers. They were all in there for life, without exception. And what I began to understand in a very small way at that time was the love that our Father had for these people. We are called to see these people as innocent, because what they have done, according to Jesus in A Course in Miracles, and this is the essence or the spirit of the whole book, they are innocent. They have not done anything. That side of us, this physical side of us, is not real. The evidence that it's not real is very valid if we just think about it, because as we're raised, like I said earlier, by goodly parents, and brought into the world and educated, and then we decide what's important to us. And for me, I guess it was money. I don't know for sure. I know that I had always loved cars. I just loved them. I thought it was a part of my life I wanted to be involved in, and eventually I became a pretty successful car dealer by worldly standards. And where was I going? Oh yes. So as we pursue the worldly end of our lives and come to the end of that life, and wind up in a coffin somewhere or in a graveyard somewhere with our bodies, the other part of us, the only part that was of any value, remains. I don't know if it remains right here on earth, in the kingdom on earth, but there's really no change at that point in time if we happen to believe in the existence of the kingdom. And there's no change at other times, because if we haven't learned this, then we're going to learn it. It's God's promise to bring us home. And there's really only one way to get home, and it is through the Lord Jesus Christ. There's no other way. And that means that it's through forgiveness, through love. That's how we get there. The thing of all the assets that we acquired, the dealerships that I owned, I think at one time we had 11 or 12, and they all meant nothing. When I came to fully realize that these businesses that I thought was so important and worked so hard were really valueless, and they were valueless because I couldn't take them with me. They didn't leave with me. My soul had no need of them. I already had everything. Everything that was important to me for kingdom living, I had, and it cannot be taken from me. It's not possible. It's God's gift to us. It's our inheritance, the kingdom of heaven.
So Dan, could you say, would it be fair to say that they were a tool, perhaps, in your life to bring you to this point? Like, I mean, we all,
yeah, absolutely.
We all surrounded by stuff, we all accumulate stuff, and we all are involved in things, and those are sort of on our path to show us, and we have certain people that come into our lives as well, that are they there to teach us things? Are our experiences in general, are those there for a purpose, to teach us things?
Yeah, everything is there to help us learn. It's how I feel a kinship or a oneness with the oak tree. That's permanent. But the excitement or the thrill that I get of selling a car, or a dealership for that matter, it's of little value, unless somewhere along the line it's pointing me, and it always is pointing me, in the direction of the kingdom. I have the right to choose, and I have the right to reject, because it won't matter. Sooner or later, there's only one place to go, and it's heaven. There's not two. There is no hell. It sure seemed like it was hell when I was there, and like I say, I'm not going back there. But there's actually no option and no choice if we if we can accept that and can kind of like the thought of that, man, we're on our way. But yes, everything in our life can be used and will be used for the benefit of kingdom building.
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Yeah, I was just uh, thinking about a couple of things that you said, and I was really kind of blown away. The idea when you're talking about is the tree real, or what is the tree? And the Course says that what we see is not real, but that comes from the idea, and I love this idea, the tree comes from the same source as we do. And instead of projecting our own perceptions of what that tree is, which makes it kind of separate and outside of us, we extend ourselves into the spirit of that tree, of that creation. And in that thought of with everything, with everybody else, when we extend ourselves, we are inclusive instead of
Yes.
creating a separate world, which is what the Course is trying to do throughout, to get your mind to change that. And that extension versus projection is key, I think, in the Course. And once you do that, you can do things with the tree, but you do it with like you would with a part of yourself, with respect, and with even a love for that being that you are interacting with. And I think that's an amazing way to look at it. And I really appreciate what you said about that. And the idea of forgiveness too, you were talking about, and that's what really brings us we're extending ourselves out. We're not projecting a thought or idea of what we're forgiving, or what we're letting go of, or whatever. So yeah, I really thank you for that idea. That's really great. I have to think about that some more. Another thing I wanted to mention too. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Go ahead.
Want to respond? What? I have a cough today. I was listening to a conversation with Dr. Jerry Jampolsky and Dr. Lee Jampolsky that came out of the Foundation for Inner Peace. I wondered if you'd seen that, but I wondered if actually you knew those two. And when I watched it, yeah.
When I read Jampolsky's story, I actually packed a bag and went to California. I met him, and he is the founder of a group of places that's now worldwide, as you know, I'm sure, called the Centers for Attitudinal Healing. And I don't know what it's like today, but at that time, he would only treat terminally ill children. No one else could get in. And I was allowed to visit him during his sessions. He's an amazing man. But what happened to him in his life had just happened to me. I was pretty much a brand new, reborn, born again, walking Christian who had no idea. Absolutely no idea what anything was about, other than I knew the simple things that God loves everyone equally. I knew that it didn't matter what was going on in my seeming other life. And so I just lit a fire in my heart. And I went to California, and I met the publishers, and I come home with a whole trunk full of books, a couple of hundred, I think, and gave them out to friends of mine and other people who were interested in pursuing Christianity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What I liked too in their discussion was you talked about its experience, the experientialness of the Course. Often we get stuck in our heads, or at least I do anyway, with it, and have a have a difficulty extending it to include others. And in their conversation, they actually showed how they had done it, like through Jerry's blindness and now Dr. Lee's deafness, and how they communicated with each other, and how the father got to know there's a son and the other way around. It was an awesome illustration or testimony in the traditional terms of actually doing the course. And
Right.
when I'll probably when I come to doing the course again, I'll talk about this a bit more and probably share that that thing. But yeah, I really like that idea of extending instead of projecting, and I think that's what the course is trying to teach us.
Well, Johan, you are very good at it. I wish I had your teaching ability and the knowledge that you have. And I know I'm going to get to share some of that because I'm going to visit when you do your turn here. I guess the joy of the kingdom is, and I want everybody to try this. If you have any kind of problem, any kind of pain, any kind of need, when you are in the holy instant, and you know that you're one with the Father, you cannot be in pain. You cannot have a problem. You can choose to leave the instant and go back to the problem, but you don't have to. The kingdom of heaven is.
And in extending that out to everyone else, you see, like these murderers you were visiting, and still seeing them as a child of God, so to speak, with that soul within them is, that's part of the whole experience. And learning that experience. Awesome.
Yeah. A group of us, actually, we succeeded in getting 3 of them released on parole, and they all ended up going back. One went back for murder again. The others were minor, but they just didn't make it outside, and that was a shame, I guess. But not according to the course. It was meant to be. It's what they chose, and so there was certainly no harm done. And the murder that they were supposed to have committed, I know that they didn't. I know that they never did that deed. They thought they did the deed, and the judge thought they did the deed, and the lawyers probably thought they did the deed, but they didn't. They did not, and that's the reality of the kingdom.
And the reality of that is that you, without going into that perspective or that way of extending yourself out to them, is the way God sees them. You can't,
Exactly, and that's what we're called to do. We're called to be His arm, His extension, and He sees no one as guilty of anything. He knows that it's just a dream, that there is absolutely zero reality in any of those things.
And if
that's wonderful.
You think, exactly. It's very freeing, that thought.
Yes.
I think you have to ask yourself that whenever you have thoughts about, about people. Is it, you got to think to yourself, is that helpful? Is it, what would it would it be for me without that thought? And often you feel a certain, if you let that go, you feel a certain amount of peace that overwhelms you. And you think to yourself, well, I'd rather think like that, I think, and then try to project out guilt or anger or desire of punishment for somebody. Is that helpful? And does that separate you from the kingdom or bring you closer to the kingdom? And you can kind of figure out the answer for yourself. Anyway, no, I was going to say, Dan, I really appreciate that that little thought that I had in my mind about extension and projection and inclusiveness rather than separating. I really like that. Opens my eyes a bit. Thank you.
Just a thought that I have in trying to wrap one's head around the concept of murderers and rapists and, you know, acting out in ways that are so unloving. We don't have to condone their acts as being, you know, right in thinking that we're one with them at in a different space or at a different level. So boy, when people hear us talk about like that in A Course in Miracles, they just think we're loony. It's really hard to get your head around.
It's one thing to put your head around it when you're, you know, not part of that act, I guess, or whatever,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's easier for us to stand back and say that about something that's happened in the news far away. But if you're the family, you know, of the person that's been murdered, yeah, this is really difficult to hear. Yeah, because it really happened to the, you know, for them. So they are in pain. But there's also that author, and I can't think of her name right now. Johan, you probably know her, who uses that phrase, you know, where would you be without that thought? And she has a whole program around
Right.
forgiveness as well. And yeah, just letting go of that. It is very freeing to think, you know, if I could just let go of that, I could be
Yeah,
someplace totally different.
Yeah, I can't think of the name right offhand, but I know what you mean. Who you mean? Yeah, there's a whole series of steps you can get to change your mind or to look at things differently. And if nothing else, it will show you how you're stuck in the way you do look at things. And even if you can't get your mind about saying what it would be like if I didn't think that thought. Yeah. Anyway.
And a lot of it is that those thoughts that just run rampant in, you know, in my head, they just go crazy. And yeah, when something bad, you know, when something bad happens to me, somebody hurts me, I mean, I can chew on that and ruminate on that forever, you know, and make it even bigger and worse than it really, you know, than it is. Way worse. It's nothing, but I make it into something.
Yeah, and there's only, the kingdom is the only place to find the freedom. There's no other place. My daughter, her best friend lost a son on the weekend. He hit a tree on a snowmobile and died. And you know, it's comforting for me to be able to know that his death is not real. That when he goes into the ground, it's just dust going to dust. That part of him that was totally secure and totally free, his soul when he was born is still secure and totally free, and that he is a part of the kingdom, and so death is not real.
I think related to what you were saying, Mary Jean, we haven't really touched on the power of the ego and how it influences our thoughts and how it can trick you into thinking things are real when it's not. And for me, working with managing my mind, my thoughts, and determining, you know, when am I coming from an ego place or when am I coming from a love place? And then it's a matter of choosing, as the Course would say. But the ego is so powerful, it can convince us of almost anything as being real.
Absolutely. Yep, I can attest to that for sure. I am mindful of our time. It's 4 o'clock. Did you
Yeah.
have any last thoughts, Dan, or are there any last questions or comments that anyone would like to share? Did you
Well, I
want
would
to close
ju-
off with
just
anything, Dan?
I would just like to give everybody assurance that even if the things that I say are difficult to believe and choose not to believe them, it matters not. That they are true, that we are loved, and that we cannot not ever be loved. We are a part of God. And that for me is the most reassuring thought that I can ever have. And leave you with that. And hopefully that is our prayer, that we will always know who we are, a son of God. Thank you, Mary Jean.
All right. Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Dan. I think this is really just, the tip of the iceberg when it comes to talking about A Course
Yeah.
in Miracles. There's so many layers to it for sure. Lots to discuss. So we hope that you can, we hope that you got something out of today's session and that you'll be able to come back and join us for further discussion. The next session will be held next week on Wednesday evening with Chris, and that will be at 8 o'clock on February the 3rd. And then Johan will be teaching on the 4th Monday of the month at this very same time. So if in the meantime, if you have questions, or you need to, just want to pass something by us, a question or whatever, please let us know. You can always email us at info@awakeningspirituality.ca. Johan,
Yes,
did you
and
have something you wanted to throw in?
Mary Jane, I would just to say, feel free to give out my email address or my phone number to anyone who might feel a need.
Okay, and if you can give me that, I'll put it in the chat, Dan. I don't have it right offhand. What's your email address?
Sure.
Do you know?
Telephone is 613-967-9320. My
right.
email is godmandan, GODMANDAN @gmail.com.
Perfect. All right, there you go. So we do have some other activities happening coming up. I'll just name off a couple of them really, really quickly. Johan also teaches Tai Chi, and that will be held next Monday. Am I at the right date? Yeah, yes, February the 1st. My gosh, we're turning over the calendar already. And it is at the same time as the session, 3 o'clock. If you're interested in that, please join us for that. Next week, also on the Thursday evening, there will be a yoga nidra session. And that is really all about a deep conscious relaxation and meditation practice that really takes you to a place that's kind of between wakefulness and sleep. So it's just a really, really deep relaxation. So it takes you to that inner world. And that will be happening at 7 till 8:30 on the Thursday evening. All of our other events, I'm just going to leave it at that, but all of our other events are on our webpage, and I did post the web address. I'll just post that one again for you so that you can go there and check out all the courses that we have. They're all available for free, so please check them out. And I did also post a resource for the course materials in case you're interested in that. And just to let you know about A Course in Miracles as well, I said to Dan as we were getting ready for this session that one of the things that I find challenging is remembering to do the exercises that come up in the workbook daily. So, sometimes there are practice sessions that are 3 times a day, some are 4, 5, 6 times a day, and I tend to forget, I get busy. So I did find an app. There is a Course in Miracles app that has all the lessons on there, and you can set a timer to actually remind yourself to do the practices. So you can take a look for that in the App Store. But I'll leave it at that, unless anybody has any questions, comments. All right. All right, well, perhaps we'll see you at the next session. And
God bless you.
wish,
Thank you. Oh,
have a great week.
thanks a lot.
Thanks for coming.